Mercadona, Mercadona.
Ja. Nein, aber das
Viva España, viva España, España, España.
Welcome everybody to another new recent episode of the Nesvi Show. Today I have a special guest with me, Lukas.
Hello guys, my name is Lukas Holtkamp.
And it's been quite a long time since we have published an episode of the Nesvi Show, and I'm glad to be here again. This time actually without my boy Nesty Boy. He is missing, but I'm sure that he'll be in the next episode. He'll be with us, and definitely excited for today's talk. Lukas, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Who is Lukas Holtkamp?
It's actually quite interesting that you say it like that, like some sort of brand.
Right.
I'm not a brand yet. I'm mostly a private person. My name is Lukas Holtkamp. I'm from Germany over here as well. A friend of yours. I'm currently studying geography at the University of Cologne, and I'm currently working at my bachelor's degree. Actually, I'm studying. Like I said, I'm studying geography currently, and it's more. I'm more working on the geographical side of it. And in the future, I might want to expand into mostly traffic sciences and stuff like that, traffic engineering and stuff like that, mostly specialized on railways. But currently, my bachelor's degree will still be just in geography, and I will write about the spatial effects of Brexit on Northern Ireland.
Right. We're going to talk about that later on.
Yes, I hope I haven't talked too much about that yet.
Don't spoiler.
Yes.
What has inspired you to to begin your studies in geography?
I have been inspired in Abitur. I don't know how it's in the countries of the people who are listening or viewing the podcast. I don't know if somebody explained that on this podcast, but for those who are not German, Abitur is basically like some sort of German high school. And basically when I was in high school, I first wanted to be a historian. I wanted to study history, especially regarding New Age, like 1900s, like the industrialization, imperialism, stuff like that. But then I got into a geography course for most of the time, and I had a really nice teacher there. Shout out to Herr Gruner from Europa Schule Cologne, who really made the topic interesting for me. He had like a very special way of teaching geography, and he mostly inspired me to go to university and not only have geography in my studies, but also not only have history in my studies, but also geography. And that is basically what I did.
Right. That's amazing. Sometimes, teachers can have such a big impact on their students, right? When they are able to convey their teachings in such a special manner that it really makes a difference in the students.
Yeah. Also, like, not only that he inspired me to do that, but when I told him that I want to study probably also geography and everything, he also gave me tips and everything. So yeah, if you have the right teacher, that can really have an impact on your life. And that's interesting. Yeah.
What other activities do you do outside of your studies?
Mostly I'm politically active in some party, just currently during the European elections. We just had a good run. I was advised not to talk about that topic too much on this podcast, but I can just say we did good big time.
That's great. So geography, and you also mentioned when you were talking about your field of study or where you want to go, the topic of railway or trains.
Yes, of course.
That's also, I think, like what I know from you, what we've been talking in our casual conversations when we've been taking a walk in Cologne here at the Aachener Weiher or something. You were always mentioning a lot of topics regarding trains or railway.
Yes, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about that. I'm currently also working with National Express as a student jobber, like 20 hours a week. Like National Express, I don't know if people which will listen to this podcast know about it, but National Express is basically one of the private rail providers that basically came over here to Germany in the recent years when they tried to break up the monopoly of DB, of German Rail, and basically bring in more private companies. And National Express, an originally British company, has massively expanded into that, especially over here in North Rhine-Westphalia, which mostly provides rail on like the big regional express lines and on some regional trains. Just recently I started working there as well, gaining some first experience, which is also very nice regarding that. Especially, of course, for my future when I'll work more in the railway sector and everything. And I really enjoy it. Like, it is really nice working with that company over here in Germany. Like, railway as a field of work just has like a really big warmth because railways in Germany existed for like over 150 years with all the political fight for workers' rights, which also has a really big history in the railway sector. Like, it just feels like a big family, even if you're not working with like the biggest company DB. That's really interesting, yeah.
Right. And I think also what you told me once is that sort of the behind the scenes or the actual environment of working there is so different than what people might imagine.
Yeah, a lot of people think, railways, they just have these lines and they have these, they have the plans and everything, the schedules, but people don't really know how big of a system a rail is. Like, how much can actually happen on a rail line. Like how easy it is not only for like a tree to knock over in like a storm or, for example, a fire breaking out at a station, and how big of an impact that can have. A lot of people always, I mean, to be fair, German rail has actually gone down a lot in quality since the pseudo-privatization in the 90s, but like the system of rail is just so complicated. There's always gonna be something, even if we manage to get like the German rail system back up again to its former glory, there still will be stuff happening, and you can be actually quite grateful if you manage to actually have for example, an ICE that has only like 5 or 10 minutes delay regarding how long its travel time is.
Right.
Also, especially, you also have you learn especially more in regards to something that people really like to do is comparing. The people always like to point to Japan or to Switzerland and be like, yo, why can't we do it like over there? But people always tend to forget that, for example, in Japan, they have like a very toxic work culture, which actually even managed to cause a rail accident, actually.
Really?
Yeah, like the rail. Yeah, if anybody here wants to research that, I can really recommend the series seconds before disaster, especially the episode. I think it's from National Geographic, especially the episode about the rail accident of Amagasaki. But apart from that, also there is a very toxic work culture. The drivers really get pushed to most of their limits for getting the trains into the stations with only seconds of delay, and that is not a good work environment. You should actually be really appreciative of it, that rail drivers over here in Germany don't have to have these very tight schedules and stuff like that. And also, what many people also don't know is most of the rail lines are only good in urban areas. Like in most of the rural areas in Japan, it's even worse than over here in Germany. Like they basically don't really have any regional rail.
Is it even worse than the rural areas in Germany? Like comparing the rural areas of Japan and the rural areas of Germany, then Japan is worse?
Yeah. At least in Germany over here, you have quite a lot of connections regarding regional express lines and regular regional trains. Over in Japan, most of even the regional trains are mostly just suburban trains. There is almost no regional rail, or only very few regional rail over in Japan's rural areas.
Right.
Or what I said, Switzerland, I try to make it a little bit shorter. For example, that a lot of people say, oh yeah, but they have they manage to keep the schedule even by small delays. Yeah, but for example, most of their trains aren't high-speed rail. Most of them only go 300 or 400 kilometers, while ours just on a regular basis go 600 to 800 kilometers for one go from one end to Germany to the other. And they also don't have. That's mostly the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep more space in their schedules. They don't have that much rail traffic actually. In Germany we have way more because we're just so central in Europe.
Right.
Yeah. So and not only regarding that, but not only regarding learning about that, but also really being able to see what's happening even only in this region of this state of North Rhine-Westphalia. This is so great about the job that I'm currently doing, and that I'm currently able to learn by that job for my future ways of working in railway or even railway politics.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to gain experience, first-hand experience, and to already sort of immerse yourself in that world, right? In that complex world.
Yes.
So, was there one or many or a couple of moments in your journey, in your studies regarding geography that changed your perspective about geography?
The thing is, fortunately, geography in Germany is actually taught quite good, or at least I had a very good geography teacher that was actually able to teach me about the essence of geography, because a lot of people tend to forget that geography isn't just only looking at maps and naming countries and stuff like that. Even though, of course, you look a lot at maps and can probably name a lot of countries, but not because of geography. Not because that's all that geography is about. No, geography is mostly a very complex field. Maybe in the early beginnings, it was mostly about cartography and stuff like that. So being able to not only make maps, but also being able to orientate yourself. But today it is mostly also about understanding the world, understanding space and the connections that is in between space. Mostly from either a physiological perspective. So, for example, biology, zoology, that you look at natural environments, or climatology, that you look at the weather and the climate and how everything interchanges, and more anthropological perspectives. yeah, where you look at, for example, how cities develop, how settlements develop, how people migrate, how economies develop, and what special things in economies are. For example, currently at our institute, we have a lecture series that is about global consuming chains, like for example global production chains, for example, for clothing and everything.
Yeah.
And if it is even really possible to develop a good and like environmental friendly
Sustainable?
a sustainable, thank you, a sustainable global production chain, for example textiles. And that is really interesting. Like I don't know how it is at most other schools, but at least I managed to already have that in mind when I went to geography in university.
Right. And you mentioned migration. One idea that came up in my mind was migration because of climate change. Is that also something you are considering, or sort of is dealt with in that field, like in geography?
Yes, actually, yeah. I had that in one of my basic, how do you call that in English? Like the basic teachings, like when I went into like basic classes. There we also talked about migration and all different kinds of stuff. Like a lot of people think of migrants only as people that come like from one country to another to stay there, to live there and everything else. But there's also like short-term migration where people just come into a country to work like for a shorter time and then maybe go back. Or like people going somewhere to study there for like a year. Or actually even tourists can be seen as migrants.
Really?
Actually, even if they only go to a place that is the thing, like especially regarding, I mean, if you work in the physiological fields, it's a lot easier to have like consensuses because it's nature. Like you mostly like even if you can debate about some stuff, the facts are mostly what they are. You can't really change that. But in sociological fields, like anthropological fields, obviously you can have a lot of debate if something, for example, is migration or not. And that actually is also something with climate migration. I actually had a professor in one of my classes who at least talked about that topic, but he didn't like the term that much because it is quite complicated to actually define it. Because a famous example in climate migration is people in Bangladesh moving away from fields that get flooded in the south of Bangladesh. But the problem is, if you look at the numbers exactly, it turns out that a lot of them aren't classical refugees. That they mostly flee from people. They mostly flee from the areas getting more flooded, but those flooded areas get mostly developed into agricultural fields, like for example for rice, or for example for shrimp, or like sweetwater fish production. And most of the people are mostly not real refugees. That was at least what I took from that class. But they are just some sort of regular migrant that basically goes from that one place to another, but they also just stay there, most even with consent. So that's one thing. Or another famous example, of course, people from Pacific Islands, where of course you have to look at is what's currently happening in that area. Is that like from climate change, or is that like regular, for example, sea currents changing, that they draw off like sand and everything, so that the islands obviously automatically lose their balance and sink into the sea.
Yeah.
And there's also like the topic of compensation that makes this a lot more difficult, because you have to define if a climate refugee is eligible for compensation.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by compensation?
For example, if like the state, let's say for example the Pacific Islanders, because that's the best example. If an island or an atoll is sinking into the sea, if the state has to take care of the evacuation, or if they have to take care, like the climate refugees have to take care of the evacuation themselves. And for example, if the state where they are going to, if they have to look for like apartments or everything themselves, or if they have to be programs for that.
Right. All right. Yeah, that's good to know. Like those are topics that I think are emerging or are getting more talked about.
Yes.
Right. Do you have any people, or I don't want to say idols, but some people that you perhaps look up to in your field, sort of that inspire you?
To be fair, I haven't really looked that much at people inside my field. Like, I don't know, I didn't really go to many geographers conferences or stuff like that. And like currently at my institute, I mean, I like my professors, especially the ones that are currently taking care of my bachelor's degree, but I wouldn't really call them idols or anything. I mean, regarding idols in the general field, I would actually say Luisa Neubauer. Like, because she is a geographer herself. She actually already has her bachelor's. I don't know if she has already managed to get her master's. And she also very much took her field to get into politics as a political activist, which is actually something I'm planning to do as well. Like, I mean, currently doing all the traffic stuff. Of course, I'm also burning for traffic, like especially rail traffic, and trying to get into, of course, also like the private sector to work with like companies and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe like I especially want to help in basically taking care of German rail infrastructure, maybe getting into architectural planning offices or like engineering offices like that. But my goal is also to either work in like some governmental agency that takes care of traffic, preferable federal, or actually even putting myself up for as a candidate for my political party for running into Bundestag. And yeah, basically I want to take not only my geographer's background, but also that traffic, especially rail traffic background that I'm currently working on. I want to take that into into my future, into this maybe political thing, because like
Into the program, sort of.
Also I would maybe say programming. Of course, I would also work on the party's program, but more of like as selling myself, because
Right.
I mean, sure, we shouldn't. I mean, you said we shouldn't talk a lot about politics, but I'm trying to make it a little shorter.
Yeah, sure.
It is like a lot of people. Yeah, just some important context. It is that a lot of people think that like a lot of the politicians, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even have a degree or anything, and that's basically what I want to combat with that. Like, I want to go and I want to say, hey, I want to do rail traffic. I mean, I just in generally, of course, want to represent the people, but I want to help Germany regain a great railway system, like gaining its like traffic importance in Europe, inside the European Union, because we're like in the middle of Europe and everything. We have like a special status with that. I want to regain that, especially in traffic, and I want to represent that in the German Bundestag, or even though the chance of that is quite, at least at now, quite small, even as some sort of German Secretary of Traffic, and for campaigning that, I just want to tell the people, hey, I have the qualifications, I can do that. Let's repair the German rail. Yeah,
that's
and great. To come back to like my idol, like Luisa Neubauer basically did that. Like she, I mean, of course, as the leader of Fridays for Future Germany, she also had that, of course, but she gained a lot of political influence, and I really respect that. She really took like everything she learned in geography regarding the topic of environment and everything, and took that into what she basically has, even if she's just an activist, like basically not trying to shit talk her or something like that, but she basically took that and put it into her now political career. And that is what I would like to do as well, and that's why I look up to her so much.
Yeah, I think generally it is important to have, in whichever position we put people in, or whichever position people adopt or get into, they should be competent people.
Yes.
So that's like a rule to live by.
Even though we would still need to have like some people from more lower backgrounds, because otherwise that would maybe be something like a technocracy. But
I'm talking about like generally, whether you're in a lower position or whether you're in a higher position, you should be competent in what you're doing, right? Because that's sort of the job, that's sort of your task.
Okay, you mean okay.
Generally.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the main thing here.
Yes.
The thesis. What is the main point, or what is the topic of your bachelor's thesis?
I don't know if I already said that already. We've talked a lot. The topic of my bachelor's thesis is like researching the spatial effects that Brexit had on Northern Ireland. Like that. Sorry, I always have to come back to that, but I'm also big into geopolitics and everything, and especially as being into like the European politics, one obviously has to talk about Brexit as well,
right?
Like which happened in 2016, like where Great Britain exited the European Union, and as I always looked at it. I always looked at Britain. I always looked at how the country developed. And I think a lot of people only tend to look at England and Scotland. Like, because, of course, England, where the center is at, like, there was most people which voted for Brexit itself. And, of course, Scotland, because, like, they mostly voted that they wanted to remain at everything and all that Scottish independence stuff. But I think a lot of people tend to forget about Northern Ireland. Obviously people say like, oh yeah, there's Northern Ireland and they also voted Remain, and there's like, oh no, there's this border question and this like for context, there is still ongoing the Northern Ireland conflict, even though it isn't obviously. Yeah, it isn't really that violent anymore. There's still riots, but it isn't that much of a civil war that it was during the Troubles era, up until 1998 with the Good Friday Agreement. And like a lot of people just look at it like in an not overcomplicated, like the difference of that.
The
oversimplified way, thank you. They look at it in a very oversimplified way. And I think that's a problem, like especially regarding that the question is that conflict even that big anymore? Like a lot of people also tend to say like it's a conflict between Catholics and Protestants, while even if you look in an oversimplified way at it, it really isn't anymore. It's about ethnicity. It is about Irish versus British. It is about where should Northern Ireland be at. It is about like the history it had. If it is a righteous thing that Britain still has power over Northern Ireland, mostly only because they settled that area in like the 1500s. In like the 1500s with like Scottish and English settlers and stuff like that. And of course, nowadays, like how did everything develop? Did everything get better or did everything get to the worse? Especially regarding a lot of people think, yeah, okay, now Brexit is done, now they had like their Windsor Agreement, and now everything is fine, and Britain is going to the worse. But the thing is, actually, even with my pre-research, I have already seen that there might actually be tendencies that the special status that Northern Ireland is currently in has actually positive things at it. Again, that's basically it. I just want to look at all the facets that it has, not only look at it oversimplified, and that is why I took that as an idea for my bachelor's thesis.
And you told me in a conversation that you are gonna go there, you're gonna go to Northern Ireland and you're gonna talk to the people.
Yes, I'm gonna talk to the people. I want to really know what the people think of it. No, but like, I mean, obviously, I can't just go into like a bachelor's thesis and expect to just write with literature. I mean, I can, but in my opinion, I believe like I already collected some data, and now I just want some data to see for myself. I want to go there. I want to. I'm gonna go there in June from around the 17th of June to the 29th. I'm gonna go to Belfast and Derry, maybe even go to some areas around that, like Lisburn or Cologne, areas like that. And first of all, look at the cities themselves, like how they developed, especially if I'm able to see like visible signs of it. If some area, like if I can actually visibly see if some areas are more Irish, if some are more not Protestant British, if some of them have more developed, if some of them have more suffered from a decay or something like that. And like you said, first I have to maybe if there's also like murals or like peace walls, like signs from the conflict itself. And of course, like you said, I want to talk to the people. I want to first of all do some interviews with like government agencies, like the Department of the Economy, collect some data with that. But of course, that isn't going to be enough. I obviously need the voices of the people. And that is why I developed a small not really a pamphlet, but a small survey,
right.
where I want to walk through Belfast, maybe even I actually have like a QR code and like a link that I posted on some sticky notes or something like that, and I just want to go around, maybe into some pubs, maybe give them to people over there, being like, yo, is it okay if I lay that on tables over here, and like you have people scanning that and fill in the survey and everything. I maybe want to tape them at some light posts or something like that around Belfast and Derry and other cities. And of course, I want to go into the cities themselves, stand there with like a few leaflets and maybe ask the people about their experiences with Brexit, if it has been for the better or the worse for the people of Northern Ireland. That's quite important for me to have that in my bachelor's thesis, to have like a good representation of the data. And not only that, I mean, I can look at a lot of data, I can analyze it, but it isn't really worth it if I can't really go and have the opinion and the experiences of the people to fact check that. And that is why it's important for me to collect that data in person in Northern Ireland with the people of Northern Ireland.
What are your professional goals after your studies?
Like I already mentioned.
I mean, you already mentioned it in some way, right? Politically and sort of going into deepening your knowledge and your actions, your endeavors in the traffic area, you know, in the field of traffic and railway.
Rail traffic.
But is there anything else that maybe you haven't talked about?
Obviously, I also want to gain a lot of more experience in life in general. Like I said, I'm not going to be jumping into rail traffic directly from bachelor's. First, I'm obviously going to do my master's degree and everything, which to be fair is probably going to be about traffic sciences and everything. But first of all, that master's, obviously, like regarding how long I'm going to be able to keep that status as like a working student, that I will be able to gain more experience in the field, that I hope that I can gain more experience in the field of rail traffic. Like I already said, more like getting into rail traffic in either a privatized thing, in a governmental agency, or as a rail traffic politician. Or like I was actually thinking about maybe doing a gap year or something like that. Maybe even going into the German military for a short time, like a voluntary military service, especially when I go into the Navy. Even, of course, a lot of people tend to joke about the Navy as being pussies or something like that, because you're just gonna be on your ship. Yeah, no, I wanna. If you're gonna be if you're gonna be standing up, messing around, and being like, yo, you all are pussies, I want you to be on like a ship with no bullseye, like completely disorienting and everything, doing like a big thunderstorm. I want to see you at that. Like I would be like, I don't know if I would be strong enough. I would probably vomit in the first days as well. But I want to see you be a strong man there. I have the courage to at least try that. And yeah, maybe, I mean, it isn't fixed, but now that's just an idea. Obviously, apart from that, maybe even doing some off time in like I think I even told you about that, like a crazy idea, doing some off time in a monastery or something like that.
Yes.
Maybe doing some spiritual retreat and everything. Like all the new ages, they do like they go to Thailand or to Bali, or like a yoga retreat in, I don't know, or at Burning Man or something like that. No, I'm doing the old stuff. I'm going into a monastery. Now, like either that, or in generally just traveling around the world, especially me, who has much of a globetrotter personality, who really wants to see the world. I mean, that's technically not professional goals, but I mean, it is gaining life experience, and I think
definitely.
That's still worth to talk about.
Totally, yeah. Do you also consider perhaps working in other countries, like working maybe in the States, for example? Because you've been in the States before.
Yes, yeah. The thing is, I'm not that much of a person who thinks is gonna work a lot in other countries. I mean, I take interest in it, in the idea, maybe going into the States and maybe gaining some experience how it's over there, for example, especially regarding rail traffic and everything, because the US, I mean, the thing is, most people don't know they actually have a lot of rail traffic. It's just freight traffic and not personal carriers, and especially regarding things like not only Vietzella in more of the northeastern area of the United States, like that high speed train over there, and in generally like the personal rail traffic that is very active over there, but also with projects like the high speed rail in California currently, that unfortunately has been manipulated by Elon Musk and his ideas of like a hyperloop and everything, which he now even actually admitted himself that he only did that as a manipulation, that it would be delayed and everything, and that it would turn out as a disaster and everything. But I think it would still be able to go there and maybe, I don't know, maybe even work in one of the companies if they still work at that project, maybe experience that myself, how difficult it may even be in the US, maybe even going into other countries like maybe Luxembourg, which mostly has like regional traffic because it's such a small country. Maybe even going into Switzerland, even though, like I already mentioned, they can be a little bit arrogant with that. Oh, we so much better than you.
Ist alles top pünktlich hier, oder?
Yeah. Or maybe even going to Spain or something like that. I mean, they also have like quite good rail, like especially like really good management and everything. Like I think over there, like I mean, I don't know how personally you stand with like the socialist president, but wasn't it that his government currently made it that even with like high speed you have like very cheap travel options and everything because I think he did some yeah, okay, maybe that's a little unfortunate, me presenting myself here as like, oh, I know so much about rail, but then, yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how he did it, but he managed to gain some funds from like other areas of government spending and basically make it so you could like maybe take a plane to Madrid, and if I want to visit you in Marbella, that I could take like a 36 euro high-speed train to Malaga or something like that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if that's wrong or something. Maybe you have a better experience with that, or aren't you that much of like a train driver? Haven't you really driven that much around in trains in Spain during your time over there?
Actually, the path of the journey that you're mentioning, like from Madrid to Malaga,
Yeah.
is actually a journey that I've taken a lot of times. Whether it was with school, visiting like a professional conference in Madrid, or visiting the German school in Madrid, or whether it be just traveling from Malaga to Madrid to get to the airport, to fly to some other places. That's sort of one route that I've been taking quite often. But I'm like for the conditions right now, even politically, I'm not aware what's going on there. Yeah, but I know that you are able to get a train ticket for around like from 20 to 40 euros.
That's really good.
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah, but that's still very good. Even if that's like an approximate. So yeah, that might be very inspiring. Yeah. So regarding working over there, I maybe have to look into that. But I was actually sometimes thinking about maybe if everything over here is getting for the better or the worse, maybe I'm anyways just gonna leave the country. Maybe going to immigrating into like another country. And I think highest on my list over there are countries like Luxembourg or Norway. I mean, sure, in Norway you have a lot of stuff regarding it's quite cold, but I heard the summers there are actually quite nice. Yeah, of course also Texas, where I have like friends and like my former host family. And I will for more like exotic areas that I may think about how it would be emigrating there would be countries like Costa Rica, where I heard that
beautiful.
Not only a beautiful country, but apparently also like nice weather, like a nice political system and everything quite liberal. Even though I sometimes feel let's not talk about that. Like that it gets too much into like hosting crypto bros if they might ruin the country. Yeah. I mean, I know that Honduras actually has been manipulated by that a lot. That they have not only also like El Salvador also have the Bitcoin as an official way of payment, but that they also have like some sort of free cities that basically operate as kind of authoritarian free trade zones, but they are not run by the state, but run by private companies. Like having their own private cities there in Honduras, where some people criticize it as basically having the country being sold out to foreign companies, and especially like Like, I mean, obviously not talking about, I mean, obviously there's good investors and everything. I don't want to shit talk about that, but there is like also like bad apples in the area, especially some crypto bros, especially with like more libertarian motives, but we don't have to get too much into that.
Up until now, I've only heard of El Salvador being like a really crypto-friendly place.
But to be fair, they only did that with like Bitcoin, and to be fair, I mean, I heard that it hasn't gone as much as they planned, but at least they're not having these like government-run free cities. So that's not really that. But I don't really know about Costa Rica, how much it is over there, but yeah, from everything I heard, it seems to be quite a wonderful place. So yeah, that's obviously something I would think about. Then maybe Namibia, even though the work might not be perfect there. I mean, I could get into like touristic stuff or economic stuff with my more anthropo-geographical background, maybe even into rail development. I haven't really thought about that. Or I don't know, maybe even saying fuck it and just work in some national park or something like that. And of course also because they still have like a big German diaspora. And even though that would be a very logistical nightmare, but I would love to live a few years in New Zealand.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We'll gain some experience down there. Down under.
Yes. Even though down under...
It's rather Australia, no?
Yeah,
it's rather Australia.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, technically... yeah. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, if I'm talking too much, obviously tell me.
No, it's all right. That's why we have a podcast. We could go on for like 3 hours or something.
All right.
So, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions regarding the media sphere.
Yes, of course.
Because right here at the Nesvi Show, we are always curious what's happening in the media sphere, like basically in the media landscape. How are the individuals communicating? How are the individual people treating each different medium as sort of new mediums emerge? You know, like, I don't know, virtual reality, augmented reality, those are like new technologies, right?
Yeah, I'm quite excited on what you want to ask me.
Yeah.
Because for those that don't know it, I'm not really... I don't really know that much how often you invite people like me on that show, but I don't know much. I'm not really into the technosphere. Like technological sphere, yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
So my first question is, which social media app do you use most and why?
Oh, that's a complicated question. Is it okay if I maybe first name the ones that I use the most, and maybe we talk about get more specific on that? Because the ones I use the most are actually Instagram, Reddit, and TikTok. And yes, it might already seem like a red flag that I'm on Reddit, but like, yeah, I mean, I use. I think I actually have to admit I use TikTok the most. Mostly because it's just like you have everything there like quite easily and already quite rapidly. I mean, that is also something that TikTok is obviously getting a lot of criticism about. That you have all the information there. TikTok is basically the quintessential representation of what the internet is. You basically get... have you ever listened to Bo Burnham's Welcome to the Internet?
No.
It's a song I can really recommend it. Like the main line in the chorus is, can I interest you in everything all of the time? A little bit of everything all of the time. And that's basically it. You get just everything. Like you have this algorithm which always interchanges it between videos that have like maybe 100,000 likes, 10,000 of likes, and then just at random like one that doesn't even have one like, which was just posted.
Yeah.
And it just interchanges that, and it is actually quite good. Like the lives are, like the recommendations for the lives are in all honesty, absolute dog shit. But
you mean the live streams?
Yeah, because it always does the same repetitive stuff, and of course live streams on TikTok have been overtaken by political stuff a lot, especially by people I'm not so good with, but that's a whole nother topic. But apart from that, TikTok gives you a lot of material. It gives you especially a lot of memes, especially a lot of content, like a lot of lifestyle tips actually. Just recently I was in Texas going to a wedding, and it was one of the only times when I was wearing a bow tie, and I was able to tie that bow tie because I saved like a bow tie, just some random as a bow tie tutorial that came into my feed one day, and that is actually quite practical. And on the other side, like, I really like the meme culture on TikTok, and TikTok is really good at providing you providing you the tools for actually doing like small sketches and everything. That is why the platform got so popular, and I really like it. I even did quite some myself. I just have to get my ass up, like we say over here in Germany, to make more sketches and stuff like that. Yeah. The only criticism I might have of it is, like I said, some of the recommendations are not really that good. The algorithm is actually really good of getting you into it for a long time, staying there for like maybe I regularly catch myself staying there for like 30 minutes or an hour even.
An hour.
And of course of course there's also criticisms regarding what many people like to call brain rot, like over exaggerated, like for example lower time what is it? But you lower concentration spans, which I sometimes have a feeling that it even affects me a little bit. And like, of course, criticisms about data protection, that ByteDance is quite a lot of has quite a lot big share with like the Chinese government. Even though obviously TikTok has the opportunity of getting like privatized by US or even maybe in the future even EU-based companies. Yeah. Should I still talk a little bit more about what I like about Reddit or Instagram, or is that? I mean, I can maybe try to make it a bit shorter if you want.
Do you prefer short form or long form content?
That's a good. I think it is kind of the. I think it's kind of the question what the content is we are talking about, because an essay. Okay, no, maybe I have to correct myself. I think it is actually short form content because it is an art in itself. Of course, having like a long content, like a long documentary that is like between 45 minutes and like 1.5 hour is obviously great to view. But if you want to inform yourself on more topics, you obviously need the information more compressed. Like, for example, in an essay, it is actually, for essays, I prefer like lengths between like 15 or 30 minutes. Like sketches, though obviously in their nature as sketches don't really need to be that long. In all honesty, I don't have a problem with a sketch either being between like 10 seconds or like maybe a minute or something like that. Yeah, but I think in general, I'm mostly watching short. Yeah, I mostly prefer short content.
Do you prefer to consume content or to produce content?
I think I'm more on the side of consuming content. I don't know if I just got lazy or everything. I mean, I do like to get my own ideas and actually create stuff. I think I still have to look at how much of work it's going to be, because sometimes even when I'm just doing like a small TikTok sketch, I feel like I have to do like so many takes. I'm being like so perfectionistic that it takes like 20 or 30 minutes to just do like a 15-second sketch. And that's basically the thing as well. So sometimes I'm yeah, or for example, like I have also regarding Reddit, I like to post a lot of memes. I actually have quite a big meme folder just with like my own memes. And of course it gets a little faster, like I can just put a picture in like Microsoft Paint, maybe put like some wordings there, then yeah, maybe adjust it sometimes. That takes a little bit of more time, but then I just save it and I can just post it on Reddit. But yeah, I think it's, at least for my lazy ape brain, a little bit better, because it's like a little less work to just put it there. Yeah, I think but apart from that, I see myself mostly consuming content either, or maybe actually TikTok and Reddit have brought me to do that, and maybe even TikTok with having more short form content that I prefer to consume and not produce for myself, which is unfortunate. The only thing that is currently a good development regarding that is writing. Actually, I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I wasn't really able to write a lot of content. Like, I'm currently writing down book ideas and everything, but that is mostly because I had like a lot of stuff in my real life as well that I had to do, and like when I'm at home, I'm just like sitting there and consuming content. But if I get some free time, sometimes I manage to actually write down a couple pages from like book ideas I have. That's the only
book ideas, sort of books that you would like to realize, that you would like to
that I would
write.
like to publish. Yeah.
Oh, great.
And that is fortunate. Yeah, that is currently like the only thing where I'm able to get myself. Yeah, where sometimes I'm, of course, still getting a little bit torn away by consuming content, but where I'm also able to kick myself in the ass and actually write to produce some content for myself.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's a huge, like you say, it's a huge difference, being on the side of the consumer or the side of the producer. It's a whole different perspective, right? You have to take in so many metrics and parameters, what the audience might like or not. How are we going to communicate in 2040? What do you think?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I mean, a lot of people also always tend to put up this future perspective of like, like people wearing glasses or stuff like that and communicating by that. But I think Google Glasses, or what was it, Google Goggles? Do you remember that?
It was Google Glasses.
Google Glasses, they massively failed, if I remember it correctly. So I think that's not going to be the case. I mean, I think the smartphone has actually been the most prevalent development of our society currently, and I think it will still stay with us for a very long time. I mean, when was the first iPhone?
2007.
2007 even. And
Imagine.
now we have like 2024. We almost have like 20 years of the not only iPhone, like in generally the smartphone. And currently it is a part, like regarding our communication technologies, it is still one of the most used. Like
it's so essential.
Yeah, it is so essential. So I think it's obviously still going to be there for like the next 30 years, so even 2040. I mean, I think it's just going to upgrade and everything. Maybe even the surrounding technologies that have to interact with it and everything. Like, for example, Starlink. Like how the phone is going to be connected with everything, or how the phone itself will look. Like, for example, we got these folding phones again.
Right.
Not even though they're not obviously like the flip phones from like the 2000s, but like actual touch screen phones that you can flip again. So it actually is quite difficult. The only thing that I could imagine is that maybe Elon Musk would be able, or in general technological companies would be able to provide maybe first experiences of like a brain implant for having like a sort of digital telepathy, even though I think many people would still be too fearful of all the scenarios that could come with it, like bugs or electrical defaults, maybe the technology overheating or everything and giving you like a literal brain melt and everything.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe like, I think we could actually have VR, but I think that wouldn't be like Google Glasses, like an augmented reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be more like stationary, that we could, for example, have future meetings in like some sort of VR Zoom call or something like that.
Totally, yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I think the metaverse looks ugly, but I think with better technology and better graphics and everything, we might actually even be able to insert ourselves into these media technologies, maybe even gaining better VR things with which we can actually insert ourselves into, maybe even meeting our friends in like games and everything. I mean, I don't really think we're gonna have like this metaverse or everything that people are like, yo, we're gonna be in like metaverse version 593, and we're going to that digital store or something like that. But then people maybe gonna meet up in the future and maybe meet in VR games or something like that.
You mean like physically?
Yeah. Or that people, for example, are like, that maybe people get into, I mean, is that even communicating? But that people, for example, are like, that, for example, in difference of like, similar to the arcades that started popping up in like the 70s and 90s, that people, that maybe stores will open up where you can, go inside and play VR games and everything, and that people, that maybe gets some new trend in 2040, that people in 2040 are like, want to go into this VR bar or something like that, where you can just go with your friends, get like, for example, like laser tag, just get a session and then play some games, some VR games with your friends and stuff like that. Maybe that's gonna be like it isn't really communicating, but I think a lot of communicating will be by different types of entertainment industries, and to maybe put like something on top of it, to resume that most I think people communicating would be mostly via mobile phones, just in a more modern way, and by VR in like office applications.
Thank you, Lukas, for such an interesting and insightful talk into what you do, into your ideas, into your opinions, and I hope to talk to you soon again.
Yeah, maybe. I'm very sorry that I got so roughy in the last part with my speech, a little bit incoherent. I hope you and the Nesri listeners and viewers can forgive me with that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We hope we see each other. Yeah, we hope we talk each other again. Yeah.
What is going on, guys? This is Ravi here from the edit room, edit mode. I just wanted to thank you all for watching this episode, and if you like the episode, if you like to see more of these kind of interviews or podcasts, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe so we know that you would like to see more of this type of content, and I will see you guys in the next episode.